Lord, you're mighty. 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 Lord, Lord, you're mighty. 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 Sing, Lord, you're mighty. 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 Lord, you're mighty.
Oh Lord, how excellent is your name in all the earth. You set your glory above the heavens and the earth. When I think of all you made, the sun, the moon, and the stars, no praise is high enough to express how great you are.
What a mighty God we serve. Mighty God we serve. Angels bow before the mighty God we serve. Sing, Lord, you're mighty. 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 Lord, Lord, you're mighty. Lord, you're mighty. Lord, you're mighty. Oh Lord, how excellent is your name in all the earth. You set your glory above the heavens and the earth. I think of all you made, the sun, the moon, the stars.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This your boy Kenny Joy back with your church comedy minute. It is 2021, and we all have New Year's resolutions. I have some. I have some this year that I think I can achieve. My first resolution is very simple. I'm gonna pay down on my tithes. I'm gonna pay down on because I think I'm in a hole with God, and He withhold my blessings. My blessings are on layaway because I don't have all my tithes yet, and so I want God to release them. So I got to pay down on them so I can get my blessings off of layaway. My second resolution is to learn the books of the Bible. It's a lot of books of the Bible. Then you learn about the lost books of the Bible, and it's a whole lot of books. I mean, I don't know all the names. I quit reading after I get to 2 Corinthians. I don't know anything about the books of the Bible. My last one is the one I think I can really achieve, is to take communion without the added assistance of other spirits. Take my communion spirit free. And 2021 is off with a bang. It came in like a wrecking ball. If this is any indication of what this year is going to be, your pastor's sermon should be about two things: watch as well as pray. You better watch as well as pray. And just for a little critique, all you pastors who say you have the discerning spirit, or evangelicals say you have discerning spirit, how about tell us what the discerning spirit is ahead of time? I don't need the afterthought or the 2020 version of discerning spirit. Violence never solved anything. How come y'all didn't tell us Donald Trump was this crazy ahead of time? Oh, my bad. Some of y'all already did. But the rest of y'all, stop going for this foolishness. Tell us the truth ahead of time. Watch as well as pray. That's what I'm doing. I ain't closed my eyes for nothing. Bow my head, not my eyes closed.
Angels
Welcome, everyone. This is Pastor Coach McKissick from Be the Ram Global Fellowship. I'm glad you decided to fellowship with us this Sunday. Today, we have a special topic. How do you safeguard your marriage? How do you safeguard your house? We have some very influential married men here, and we're going to just have a roundtable conversation, give some advice about, what we've done, what we've seen work, what we've seen not work. We're not perfect. We're not trying to say that we have it all figured out. We're just trying to pretty much be the ram in someone else's marriage, help somebody else out. Once again, I'm Pastor Coach McKissick, Be the Ram Global Fellowship. Glad you decided to fellowship with us this morning. I know it's a little bit different. I know it's not what you expected. However, please stay with us for a few 5 minutes. Let us open up in prayer. God, thank you for this moment. Please remove all the distractions and the barriers that may cause us not to get this conversation, through. You told us to do it, and we're being faithful, and we believe that lives will be changed, marriages will be saved, and the generation will be different because of what we're going to do in these few 5 minutes. God, thank you. We just thank you for what you're about to do, and we thank you for allowing us to be the voice for so many. In your mighty name we pray. Well, once again, I'm Pastor Coach McKissick. I have been married for 7 years now. I plan on being married for a long time. We live here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. And I had a conversation with a couple guys. And I said, we got to get this thing and we got to chop it up and make sure that we put this information out, because it was such a powerful conversation. And I just felt it to be stingy if we kept it to ourselves. So I'm going to let the guys introduce themselves, give a little bit of background on themselves, and then we'll get into a couple of areas.
How you doing? I'm Davion Floyd from Opelika, Alabama. I've been married 17 years in July. Got 3 kids. My wife is amazing and continues to, help me, to build a better future for our generation. And life is good.
Hello, my name is Alan Fields. I'm from Dothan, Alabama. I've been married for 10 years. I have 4 kids. Same here, my wife has most definitely been my backbone. Love her to death. It's been a great 10 years, and I plan on being married until they put dirt on me.
So what I think I like that's very special about this group, I'm 38 years old. And how old are you, Davion?
I'm 41.
And how about you, Alan?
I'm 41.
All right, so 41, 38. I'm the youngest in the room. I've been married 7 years. Davion said 17, and Alan said 10. And if you ask Facebook, they say that people aren't married for a long time. If you do the math, Davion's 41, he's been married 17 years. That means you got married at what age?
About 25, yeah.
About 25, so it's either 24, 25, 26, about 25, somewhere in that time frame. And I think it's important to know that black men, men in general, but black men especially, can get married, in their 20s and stay married, and it just takes some work. So today we're talking about how do you safeguard your house. I didn't mention my wife. Another thing that you've noticed that, once the conversation going, we all have very strong wives. We have wives that I think, and no offense to the other guys, they would do well without us. It's kind of a thing where you marry up, and I think I definitely married up. My wife is very strong. She's strong-willed. She's the kind of person that when she's determined, she's gonna get the job done. And what that comes with, you have to be secure in yourself. Because if you're a man and you have a bunch of insecurities, which we all have some, we can't say that we don't. But if you're very insecure and you have a strong woman, strong black woman, no offense to any other races, but there's something about a strong black woman. They get it done. If you're insecure, you're gonna stifle your marriage, because you could go so much farther or further if you would allow your spouse to be your helpmeet, and not to say that she's supposed to be picking up behind you and doing things like that, but she's helping you meet the expectations and the goals that God put on your life. So what we're doing is we're talking about safeguarding your house, how to protect your house from infidelity. And usually when you hear the words infidelity, you think about one person cheating on another. However, there's a lot of different areas of infidelity. You know, infidelity doesn't stop with going on a date with someone, doesn't stop with being physical with someone. There's a lot of areas that we may not have thought of that we're being cheaters. A lot of married men, a lot of Christian men, a lot of non-Christian men, they think they're being great husbands, and mentally they are. They have good efforts, but they're cheating on their spouse. They're cheating on their kids. They're cheating on their church. So the first area of infidelity that we're going to talk about is financial infidelity. And I brought on Davion because I think that he is one of the financial gurus that I know. So he's going to pretty much talk about some areas that, you know, you can find yourself cheating your spouse financially. Davion?
Well, I like to use, you know, my wife, she's my BFL. She's my best friend. So we share everything. We got pretty much a bank account that we share, that we can see everything. All the money comes into that bank account. All the money that goes out, both of us said. So, you know, she's my partner for the rest of my life. So I keep everything open. You know, I even have to, it's hard getting stuff for her because she's a financial advisor, and she sees when I spend a large lump sum of money, but she sees, like I said, even though she makes her own money and it comes into the account, everything is wide open. And I've always heard that finance is the number one cause of divorce. So I made it like my top priority that finance would never be an issue in my house. So what we've done, to make things meet between each other, I became successful in the military, and she pretty much supported me while I was in the military. So I was able to pretty much take care of the whole household by myself without her income. And long story short, once I retired, I pretty much helped her with her career. And, like anything that she needed help with, I was in the background providing for her and making sure that we had a good foundation so that she can be successful in her career. And long story short, she became the number one financial advisor in the entire company. And it's pretty much worked, helping her, pretty much empowered my daughter to be successful, because my daughter is pretty much watching her. And, when she speaks to, big audiences and everything, she's pretty much being that Proverbs woman, that's pretty much setting an example for our household, like I did when I was in the military. And that works for us.
Now, if there are any areas, Alan, of financial, infidelity that you would probably give some advice to some guys?
Absolutely. Unlike Davion, I come from a different background. I came from a background without, I wasn't really, taught about finances. So when it comes down to finances with myself, I was always in a place where you made the money, spend the money, or because you make the money, that money belongs to you. And because you being the man of the house, you not have to tell your wife or let your wife know how much money is coming inside of the house. So like you're saying, for us being financial infidelity, that becomes a problem, because instead of you trying to live life as one household, one income, you're at a place where now you're saying, my money is my money, your money is your money. What I do with my money, I do with my money. What you do with your money, you do with your money. But at the end of the day, that begins to drive a wedge in the household. Things are not being met. Things are being overlooked. So if I can give any advice for finances, you have to first of all, find your strength. If you were never taught about financial wealth, my wife, I will say she most definitely, when it comes down to finances, that is her thing. That is her strength. She loves numbers. She can crunch numbers like anything. That's just her thing. So by me overlooking that and not knowing anything about finances, I was overlooking her strength. And in a relationship, you have to look at what the other person's strength is. So if I can give anybody advice, I think you need to have that conversation about finances and see who's the strongest has the strongest mindset about wealth. And once you have the conversation, I think you come together and you see what works for your household. So like I said, just don't have that mindset of thinking that because you're a man, you control all the money, you can do what you want with your money. You have to have the mindset of saying we have to come together as husband and wife to make this household work.
I think that's good. I think it's very good. I heard Alan, you say that just because you make money or you're the one that made the money, doesn't mean that it's my money. And that goes along with Davion saying it's open. So all the money, both of their names on it, comes out the account. And I know a lot of people, especially in this generation, they probably say, I'm not doing that and they go into a marriage saying, what if this happens? Then I'm not gonna have anything for myself. I gotta have a pot of money over here. And in our household, I do the budget because I'm real big on, spreadsheets and things like that, just because I need to know in my own head, making sure things are taken care of. And it's got to a point, after 7 years of marriage, that my wife probably doesn't even know what bills that she has. It comes to a point of, okay, this is how much contribution I need. And, she'll send that over, once we get paid, I'll take care of all the bills. She probably couldn't log into her own, phone to pay it. But that comes with a level of trust.
Absolutely.
It comes with, like you said, that would be my strong point. Even though she's a math teacher, she would rather not pay the bills. Now, it doesn't matter. It took a long time, to say, we had a conversation. It took a while to say it doesn't matter who's paying, like where the money's coming from. We're done together. And sometimes, like you said, they'll say, well, I made the money and I keep it. And the Bible says, let no division come between your house, your marriage. And you can start right there that financial problems are one of the number one causes of divorce, but we cause that division right there. We're not open. When you're open with your spouse about your bank account and she can go in there and look, you can't be spending money in odd places.
Exactly.
You comes up and you got an OnlyFans account and it keep ding, or you getting in a motel sick and this and that. That stuff just comes odd. And with one thing I do, all of my passwords are the same. And what that does is that I know, and it holds me accountable. I know at any point my wife can log into my Instagram, my Facebook. She doesn't because once again there's that trust level, but it makes me be accountable. So you know what? Don't fall a prey. You got crazy. But just being open, that would be my advice. That going into it, like you said, find out who's strong at what, and be okay with that. Like be okay with one person being strong at finances and one not. I would, my background, coming up, I didn't get to watch, someone who was great with finances. When I looked at my parents, they were both in debt, and so that to me, growing up in Columbus, Georgia, the goal was to get in your early 20s, 1920, that you wanted to get a box Chevy, or a Caprice or a Crown Vic with some 20s on it. And you had if you get a girl, a nice chick that was curvy and that, you can kind of flaunt her around, you had made it. But I know, like, this can't be it. Like, that can't be, the end all. But it all comes to a financial mindset of when you have it, you really don't have to walk around acting like it.
Absolutely.
You don't have to walk around saying I got this and I got that. Last question on that, when you guys talk, a lot of people will say, well, your wife's a financial advisor, and your wife is this, and she graduated from Auburn University, then you guys are probably all set up for that. Like in advance, you already had that. So, did you guys come from money?
I said, no, sir. We did not come from money at all. Matter of fact, we was broke when we met. What I did, long story short, once she built me up, then I built her up. But we used to argue over $5 meals. Like literally, Subway was my thing and Popeyes was her thing. And we used to argue over, I see you went to Subway this month. I see you went to, Popeyes this month. And long story short, I do the budget every month and she verifies it. So, in the military, we see a lot of people that, pass away, because of the war and stuff. And a lot of times only one person knows what's going on in the house. So if something happens to them, the other person don't know what money they got coming in, what money is going out, or what to do. So, like I said, I try to be preventive on making sure that we both know what's going on. So if something unfortunate happens, we both know what's coming in and what's going out, what needs to be paid. And long story short, it's been times that, we've gone to Korea, Georgia, different duty stations, and she's had to quit her job. And then when she get to another place, she has to get another job. So if we had stuff like, it's been times we had a car note and she get a job and get a bonus, and she be like, you know what? She's my helpmate. I'm gonna just take care of the car note with this bonus. And imagine if I had been like, I'm taking care of everything. My money is my money. Whenever she get these, bonuses or something like that,
That's my money now.
it's my money. So, so we doing everything together. And after 16 years of marriage, we like about to be on house number 5 that we got, and debt free at 41. And it's better. That scripture, when two or more come together, God is in the midst. So it all comes together when we doing stuff together. It's nothing that we got to hide. And like you said, Pastor, that it helps keeps you honest. Whenever you think about spending something that you shouldn't be spending, she has access to that account. So it keeps you more accountable. And it's good.
Yeah, it is. So I'll move on to we talked about financial infidelity, and I think another area of infidelity that's huge that we probably don't look at as infidelity is when you're cheating your spouse and your kids of quality time. Because most men, we were taught you got to get a job, you got to work, and make sure your wife has it. But at time, you climb up to the top of the ladder and realize that it's leaning against the wrong building. And you look down and you see like they're not even happy anyway. Like they would have rather had me at home. And I realized, through the pandemic, when we were all, stay at home, and I got to walk in the neighborhood with my kids, my wife was tired of me or whatnot, always around. You realize that it felt good to be home. It felt good, like, this is what I'm working for. And I know a lot of guys that are, very successful, but they don't like going home. And every time I'm around, it's like, you're here so much, you're working. Where do you find time, to spend with your family? So another area of infidelity is, infidelity with your work and home balance. So Alan, do you have any experience or any advice for guys who are trying to balance, like, okay, if I don't work, she's gonna look at me like I'm not a working man. And if I work too much, she's gonna ask me, I need you at home. And a lot of guys are struggling with that because they don't want to see their family fail. However, it's a catch-22 because now you have an unhappy spouse and it fails anyway.
Absolutely. Well, I come from a background of working factory jobs. So I know all about working 12-hour shifts, night shifts, working all night, having to sleep all day. On your off days, all you want to do is rest. But just like You go to work, you want to earn that paycheck. It's the same thing at home. You have to put the work in at home to earn the love that that you expect from your wife. So I feel like that just like you go to work and put in that work at work, you have to put in that same work and that same effort at home. And like you say, a lot of times, we feel like she knows I love her. I'm married. She knows I love her. But one thing about love is it's all about action. We have to put those words into action. We have to not just say I love a person. We have to show them how much we love them. So even just like you push forward, no matter, a lot of us, especially me, when it was my time to go to work, I would get up no matter how tired I was. I would get up and I would make sure I hit that clock, and not just hit it, but I would hit it on time. And then when you get there, because you wanted that paycheck, because you needed that paycheck to take care of home, you know what I'm saying? No matter how tired you were going to push yourself a little, give yourself a little extra to go. It's the same thing at home. We have to put that same energy that we put into a job, we have to put that same energy in at home. Because if you do not put that same work in, and your wife start acting different, now you have something to say. Why I'm not getting the love that I need from my wife? Why I'm not getting this? Why you're not treating me? But you have to look at what you're doing and what you're not doing. So I say you have to treat your household, per se, not like a job, but you have to put the work in like a job. You see what I'm saying? You cannot slacking at home and give all your effort to a job, or give all your effort to the club or to the street or per se, whatever. You're going to put your effort into what matters to you the most. So I feel like if you're going to rest, you're going to get rest in for something that you can give all your effort to, you rest when it's time for Ed or whoever wants you to come out and shoot pool or whatever. You rest in that time. So when it's time for you to put your effort in with your wife, you're all rested up so you can give her all your energy.
I'm a basketball coach and a PE teacher, and every summer, I'm part of the FCA, which is the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. We have a camp, and I heard one guy say that all the games you win don't matter if you don't go undefeated at home. And we all set, pretty much a goal to win at home. And what that means is just what you're saying, that same energy, because we know, and if you're married, if you've been married longer than a day, you understand that sometimes, you give your job, you give people outside the house your best, and your family get the leftovers. They get the mad you, the tired you, or you come home and you complain. I'm guilty of this, complaining about what happened at work, and once you get done telling your story, you ain't even listen to your wife, and then you fall asleep, or you get mad because a meal's not made. You know what I mean? So it comes a point where you got to put the same energy, if not more, to make sure that they know their value, they know their love, and when you do that, they will support you more, and they will have your back, and you might get a meal, you might get your feet rubbed. I'm not saying anything, that's gonna happen, but if y'all watching and y'all, but yeah, so you'll get those things just like on your job. You're not gonna get a promotion or a raise if you come late, you got a salty face, you're mad all the time, you don't perform well. So how can you expect to be at home and get promotions? And another thing that I would say, and then I'll get some advice from Davion, is that the Bible says that you must be evenly yoked. And when people don't, when they hear that, they think about an egg yolk, and that's not what it is. A yoke is a device that ties two cows together. And when they're plowing the field and it's put around the neck, just like kind of like a restraining, and it's tied to the other one. Now, if I have a yoke on my neck and I'm here, and then the yoke is on the other cow's neck, one of us have to be out of position. One of us have to be uncomfortable to work and be successful. But if we're evenly yoked, then we're working on the same stride. It comes easy. And I say that, make sure you have an idea before you jump into marriage. Make sure you have an idea of what your future spouse thinks that, how that should go. Because there are some women that will look at you sideways if they wake up and you still in the bed. Yeah, and there's some that will look at you sideways if they wake up and you're not in the bed. My wife and I, we're both teachers. So we're evenly yoked in that area, so we understand. Like, I get it when she says, I'm going to take some money out of the house and spend it on the kid. Or I got to go, if something happens in the middle of the night, I need to go pick up this child, this little girl, or entertain a conversation with somebody's on the phone crying. If your spouse isn't like that and they don't understand that lifestyle of an educator, then it will look real funny if I'm the girls' basketball coach. My wife knows nothing about, education, sports, and a little girl, 17-year old, calls me crying at 11 o'clock at night. That could cause a lot of issues. But because we're evenly yoked, it would probably be a joint conversation. Like, hey, it's my wife here, and she would get it. So my advice would be, make sure you're evenly yoked and make sure you have that communication and conversation, about backgrounds. How did their parents do? Did they have two parents? Did they come from a two-parent home? If you came from a two-parent home and there was structure, you know, you may have a different thought process on who should be working. If they grew up with a single mother and all men were dogs and all men, and the mom worked super hard and my money was my money, then, yeah, Davion.
Well, I think a lot of marriages have, I would say, people put false expectations on each other. Like, meaning that they require the other person to do stuff that they're not willing to do without even talking to the person. So, a lot of times they want the woman to take care of the kids. You should be taking care of the kids. But then they also want the woman to work. So if you can't work and take care of the kids, how do you expect your spouse to work, take care of the kids, and have dinner made when you get home? So everything should be equal, meaning like you're the head, head of the house, but if you're not willing to do something, you can't put that expectation on your spouse. So like I said, with us, I was, doing the military thing, so she had to support the kids. And long story short, whenever I got out of the military, I take care of kids. I take care of, home, make sure the house is clean, make sure dinner is made. She don't do none of that. I do all of that because she's been doing it the last 15 years. So now she's successful in her business. She's speaking in front of, 4,000 people. And I'm in the background. I'm not doing I'm just in the background. She can, she acknowledges me like that's my husband and he supports me, but this is her time. So, everything comes together and, everything requires a balance. I had a guy, a soldier that I could never show up to work earlier than him. Man, I try to stay later. I could never stay later. I was like, man, I cannot compete against this dude because I got a wife and 3 kids. And I go past the job on the weekend. He's painting the lines in the parking lot. I was like, really? Come on, dude.
Right.
So long story short, I come into work early. No, I get a call from the police saying that somebody's at the job, that's not supposed to be there. And I come in, turn the lights on. He's at the office sleep. And so long story short, he's going through a divorce, so he never leaves the job. So that's why I couldn't beat him. So he was successful in the military, but his marriage sucked, and his kids, he didn't have a good relationship with his kids. So everything requires a balance. If I spend too much time at work, I can be successful at work, but then my home life won't be good. If I spend too much time with my wife and not much time with my kids, that means that my wife is good, but then my kids are not going to know me. So I use it's very inspiring during this time that I've been gone a lot. So usually when I come home, and the kids are like, "Hey, where's mom? I need help with my homework. Where is mom?" But now when my wife be like, "I can help you out," they was like, "No, I want dad to help me." That's a good feeling, And the closest way to I think to a woman is taking care of your kids. Back in the day, Miles Monroe used to talk about it. Before the war jumped off, all the man did was work and make money. He didn't spend no time with kids. It wasn't an expectation at all. But now the women work. So they don't really need the man to just, provide all the income. So now you see men with the little kids strapped onto their front and their back pushing the kids. So it's a balance. You know, we got to be helpers one to another. So if you want your wife, anything that you expect out of your wife, you got to plant that seed. Women, they take stuff like they nurture it and then they give it back 9 months. So if you want your wife to be successful, plant that seed in her, invest that time in her, and for her to be successful, and then she's gonna nurture it and give it back to you. So if you giving her something bad, she's gonna nurture it, give it back to you. So if you want your kids to be successful, you can't get onto your wife about your kids not doing stuff. You invest that time, you expectation. You got to inspect what you expect. So you put that time into your kids, then your wife see how you're doing it, and then she's gonna fall in line. But if you're not doing it, you can't expect that spouse to do it. And that's pretty much it. You know, it has to be a balance in everything. You can't give too much time to one thing and not the time into the other stuff.
So, yeah, that's good. And I would say, you know, don't don't get into the measuring contest. Don't compare yourself to another man. You know, a lot of us, you know, we all want to climb up. We want to be successful. So we look at other men and we say, "Oh man, he's on it." Like you said, he beat you to work. You couldn't beat him, but he living there. And I had a conversation with another guy who's now a head coach at a college. And I'm like, man, well, how do you, because he was saying how he went from one school to the next and he moving up the ladder. And I'm like, how do you balance that? You know, how are you able to do all this studying the film and drawing up plays and, you know, do you have a family? He says no. You know, but that's not something that's on the front page. You know, front page is that he's winning games, he's doing this, but the trade-off was I don't have a wife and kids. So sometimes we will compare ourselves and we'll try to compete, but we're competing where we don't compare. Like they got a whole nother story, a whole nother lifestyle. Or you see the person with the Benz and they're riding around, you know, but that's where their money went. House, you know, you have your wife living in an unsafe environment, you know, guys hooting and hollering every time she walk out the house, or you're never there. You know, yeah, it's kind of emotional hearing you talk about that because during the pandemic, it was great when I woke up and I got to see my kids, you know, and it was almost like I felt like I was cheating my wife and kids by going back to work. And I said, you know, I got to do something. I got to find some way to financially stimulate this situation where I can't become home at 9 o'clock unless they're on board. And some things that I do is that I try to make sure that, you know, with my kids, being that I'm a teacher, I try to bring them to work with me as much as possible. You know, my son's an athlete, my kids are athletes. You know, I'll bring him to practice. I'll bring, like for an example, Monty, you know, Dad, you know, I want to ride my scooter. Now, you know, I can buy things, but they want you to play with them. You know, create those memories. And it was like every day I come home, I'm like, I can't do it today. I'm too tired, it's too cold, it's too late. So eventually they're going to stop asking. So what I did was, hey, make it work for what I got. Get your scooter, you come. So I'm down there coaching and she's riding that scooter around the top. You know, she comes home and tells Mom, I had the best time of my life, you know, and then starts talking about Balo, and she's only 6, and she's talking about the high school kids or how they didn't work hard and do this and that. So, and then it gave my wife a break. You know, she deserves a break as well as that balance. I can't be at work all the time, leave her with the kids, and then expect, you know, when I get home, I want a hot meal. You know, I want you boom, bam, bow. I want you looking like you looked when you was 21. And I want you, you know, opening the bedroom door, swinging from the ceiling, you know, doing all kind of tricks. It just doesn't work that way, you know. So it is all about balance. It's all about
only in the movies
willing to give up for what you want, you know.
Yeah.
You know, moving on to the next area is safeguard your marriage from the infidelity of not allowing others to infiltrate your household. And when I mean others, I mean, you know, blended family situations or not even blended families, just outside influences. And a lot of people don't understand that, especially men, that outside influences, it creates a rift. It really does. And I put a scripture, it says that, men ought to love their wives as they love their own bodies. And you got to love your spouse as if you love yourself. If you think about it that way, would you take something from outside of your body, put it in your body, A, if you don't know if it's going to hurt you, B, if you know that it will hurt you. And we have to be careful, to make sure that we're not allowing outside influences to infiltrate the house. One example is, once you get married, you may want to think about changing your friend zone. Not saying that, all my friends got to be married, but if your single friends can't respect the fact that you're married, then, they're probably not good friends at all, or there may be friends that you need to love from a distance. Because I'm not going to call either one of you all and say, hey, let's go to the strip club. First of all, it's disrespectful to your spouse. It's disrespectful to you. And then I am tempting you to do something that, what if that's what the devil was pushing on you? What if that's an area of struggle for you? And now here I am being the little thing that just pushes you right off the edge and say, hey, come do this. And now it creates a situation where, I like to ask myself, if I wouldn't do it in front of her, I try not to do it, not around her. So, you have to really be careful of who you, involved with. Get some friends that are married, maybe in your age group. Maybe like, the older people don't know what they're talking about. They 38, 40, 41. Or find somebody who's in the same struggle as you, because they're not going to understand. If you get married people advice from single people, you're bound to fail.
Yeah.
So, Alan, I would ask you to, because I like the advice that you gave, kind of touch on, we have blended families, on some boundaries that you set going into your marriage to make sure that it was successful, bringing in a blended family.
First of all, let me say, man, I'm truly blessed, man, to have the wife that I have. A lot of times, when you do have kids, it's kind of hard to try to, like you say, bring the two together. You have kids by someone else. That's kind of a hard thing all the way around. But I most definitely was blessed with a wife that, like Davion said, a lot of times when a woman look at how you take care of your kids, and you take care of kids, I think that makes them love you more, makes your spouse love you more. And my wife, that was one of the most things she said she was impressed with me about, because I didn't grow up in a household with a father. Watched my mother struggle to raise me and my two brothers, and my dad just wasn't there. So I can't say that I knew how to be a father, but what I did know was the mistakes of being not being there to be a father. So what I did was I said, listen, I might not know everything, but I'm going to try my best each and every to be there and be there the best that I possibly can. So God blessed me with a woman that came in and said, listen, I want to help you. I see the way you're trying your best to be the best father you can be, so I want to help you. So in the midst of her helping me, my mindset automatically was, if this woman is going to give me a try, if she's going to come into my life and say she's going to give me a try and it's going to be there for me, that outside that I'm bringing to her life, meaning that I know my kids has a mother. I have to set the boundaries right then that my wife should never have to come, face any problems or have to be disrespected by, some type of outside influence. Because if I was not in the midst of this, if I did not bring my wife into this situation, then this would not be a part of her life at all. So the boundaries I set going into this was, listen, I talked to my kid's mother and I said, listen, anytime you have a problem or I have a question of anything that goes on in my household, you address me with that. You never go to my wife and ask my wife anything. Now, I don't have any problem with my wife and my kid's mother having a conversation where they can, talk about the kids and, ask out, each other. But when you're going to come to me with a problem that you may think is going on in my household, or a question that may be going on in my household, it automatically is going to be addressed to me. So I set those boundaries from day one. And where I set those boundaries is having a conversation with my kids' mom, saying, listen, you and I have a relationship. I wouldn't mind, you speaking with my wife or talking to my wife and you and I. But at the end of the day, the relationship that's created here, or that has been created between me and me, you and my kids, is between us. So if you have a problem, you never address my wife. You automatically call me. And so once I set that ground rule, my wife has never had a problem. That's never going to be a problem that will ever be addressed to my wife, because that is me. That comes from me. And like I say, with my wife taking that chance of saying, listen, I want to be one with you, I feel like that's one thing that she should never have to have a problem with, or a problem she should never, have to address.
I think that's powerful, and I won't say that it was a mistake that when we came into our blended family situation, I didn't set that boundary clear enough. My wife was very active with my kids from a young age, and there was a lot of pushback. There was a lot of, well, I don't want her touching the hair, and I don't want her doing this, and she was the lady in the yellow shirt. So it was a lot of issues that I had to pay for down the road. And the worst thing that you could do in a marriage is have to deal with issues from your last marriage. The last marriage failed for whatever reason, and now you don't want the residue from that marriage to trickle into this marriage or relationship, and now you failed twice, when it's like, wait, we're arguing about something, an outside influence. It has nothing to do with us. And then it kind of, you find yourself as the husband, if you're the one that's bringing in the kids or the ex or the spouse and things like that, you start feeling bad. I start feeling like, am I even worthy? I felt like, hey, she was young, fine, no kids, never married, and here I am bringing in 2 kids, and I don't have baby mama drama, but there's just always going to be a rift if you don't set those boundaries. And I said, I would tell myself, she can do better without me, and here I am, dragging her down and this and that, and I haven't did what I needed to do. And especially if you're going to go through financial issues, you're going to go through that.
Yes, sir.
You have enough in marriage alone, but then you add in that third party, and sadly, as it comes, at any given point, somebody else has the ability to plant a negative seed, to do something like that. And they got nothing to do with what we're doing in this house. But if you're in a blended family situation, somebody else can make a phone call or make an accusation to, just kind of throw everything off guard. And it's almost as the husband, like you said, you either gonna come in hard, like you will not speak to my wife. If you come in like that, people may think, oh, that's so mean, but you gotta set your boundaries. Or you in a situation where now you caught up trying to play the game of like, you know what, I gotta make sure that, I can't let this leak over here. And I gotta make sure, now you end up having to go double time, like, okay, well, she knows that I got a house in my last marriage, and now here we are in an apartment. And it's like, well, if you say, that you love her more. Now, my wife never said this, but in the back of your mind, you're like, well, her ring's got to be bigger than that ring. And, then, my wife, not to let, throw any shade at some friends, but she had some individuals that she associated with. And before we got married, they had a round table conversation, girls taking her out. Well, that, he's been married, and, he probably cheated on his wife and all that stuff. And he already got 2 kids. If y'all ever have kids, then he's not going to love your kid like he loves his kids from his other wife. You know, God, thank God that she doesn't associate with him anymore. However, but when that seed is planted, it's always going to grow. When the seed is planted, when situations come up, surely that pops up in the back of your head. And I had to kind of say, look, they all my kids. You know, they are all mine no matter what. I don't, so why would I love one less than the other? Because clearly I'm not with the other one anyway. So it ain't a situation where I love that mom. They're all my kids. So I'm going to treat my kids how I treat my kids. But it took years into it for, hearts to be broken, for arguments, spaz outs, disrespect, till it just came to the point. And it actually, after I had a conversation with Alan here, like the boundaries being set, and Tavares also was like, they'll live, you know, it came a point where like, look, I got to make sure that I'm safeguarding my house because there's enough stress anyway, and it can't come from somebody else. So it took a lot of effort on my end to say, look, I know it's been situations, but this is where the line is drawn. You have crossed the line and it won't happen again. Your conversation, your communication goes through me. You have no reason to ring her phone. You have the kids will have their own phones. And if the kid has an issue with it, kid can go back over there too. Because at the end of the day, this is the foundation. This is what we're gonna do. And what you would not say, I don't love you, I'm still gonna take care of you. I'm still gonna do what I need to do, but you would not cause division in my house. So you guys got to make sure you safeguard that. And another issue I would say, I asked Dave Young, he told a story about an outside influence that tried to tempt him because he was in a powerful position. So that should kind of just tell that story.
So I used when I was a drill sergeant, and long story short, I was a high-ranking soldier, and the younger soldiers see that position you're in, almost like being the president. People are gonna come at you. And long story short, whenever the two soldiers at the same time approached me, so it was very tempting. I'm not gonna lie. And I pretty much told them about, I got a rule. I don't do right all the time because I want to do right. I do it because I have to do right. I got a son that graduated college, NAACP president, daughter that's published 3 books at the age of 11. I got a superstar son that's a football player at 11. So, if I fall, I give all of them a reason to fall. So I don't do right because I want to. I do right because I got to. And every sport, requires rules. UFC, that's my favorite sport only sport that I watch. But you can punch in the eye, the nose, you can kick, in the head. But even they got rules. You can't eye gouge, and you can't, kick in the groin. So the same thing comes with a marriage. You must establish rules and boundaries in your marriage. It should be like, there should be no low blows. You shouldn't be talking about each other's mama, or sensitive areas. Whenever y'all come into a disagreement, it should always be respect, regardless of if you the head of the house or what. You all should respect each other. And and I always said, everything stays inside the house, because a lot of times, you and your spouse can have a disagreement. You tell a friend about it, or a parent about it. You can forgive that person, but then when you go home, they forgive that person. You messed over my son, so I owe you. So that's a rule. Establish rules when you first get into the marriage. And one of the rules I set with my mom, because I got custody of him at 3 months, I was like, you don't me telling you how to raise my son in your house and what you should do in your house. I trust you to do the right thing. So in return, I need you to show me that same respect. And I do things a little different, whenever whenever she needs something, I explain to her that our money is joint. So if you need help with something, I can't just take from her account, which is our account, and give it to you without her permission. So whenever she needs money, she has the right to call Shavana and ask her for the money. And then Shavana always give it to her, but that created a good relationship between those two because she always needed help when we first got together, and every single time Shavana would help her. So that took me out the picture altogether, and it was a time I had to go. I had get deployed. I had to go away for a year in the military, and my son wanted to go back with his mom. And long story short, my wife had a newborn, and she had never raised a newborn. So what my son's mom did was sent her oldest child to come and stay with my wife for a year to help her out because they had already built that relationship each other out. So for an entire year, I didn't have to talk to her at all. It was just my wife talking to her, and my wife putting her daughter through high school. While I was gone for a year. So we have a different. It took some massaging in the beginning, but we had to come up with those rules in the beginning and how everything. Even now when she needs money, she don't call me at all. She got my wife's number. She calls her up to get money because it comes out of our account. And then when it comes to the blended family with the kids, sometimes the kids try to go to one parent over the other, so we both had to agree on them. So if they want juice, when they was younger, I had to say yes, and mom had to say yes. If one of us say no, they don't get no juice. So we had to be in agreement on everything, so that they can know that we pretty much we raising it in the way they should go. So nothing ain't coming in between us. So pretty much we're in agreement, me and the spouse. So anything from the outside has to go through both of us. When it comes to finance, when it comes to agreeing on what the kids should get, everything came through both of us. And like I said, no outside influence. Anything that happens in the house stays in the house. And so it shouldn't be no like this your child told me this about you. What are you gonna do about that? No, everything stays in the house. Like you said, single people can't tell you how to be how to be a good husband. Like, first of all, you single, and the last thing we have the same friends. When we first got married, that was one of her rules. We don't agree on everything, but I said marriage is 150%, 110%. You're gonna do 100% towards the stuff you want to do. The other 10%, not saying that it's wrong, but you're just doing it just to keep your spouse happy. And in return, she does the same thing. So she didn't want no friends, whether I was in a relationship or just grew up with them, never hugged, nothing. I don't want no outside friends from your past, like girls. I said, all right, cut it off, because that's how bad I wanted to satisfy her. And in return, we got the same friends, so it ain't no new people popping up. Anybody that comes up in a relationship, anybody on my Facebook, we got this Facebook together, so we know who the people are on our Facebook. We pretty much, that's how we cut out a lot of stuff from other relationships or baggage. And it's worked fine over the last 16 years. After 3 months, I proposed to her after 3 months, and we got married 2 months later. So from the time I met her, we was married 7 months later. And we've been, like I said, 17 years now, following these rules that we established while we was dating.
So you had your first child at what age?
He came to my high school graduation, so I had, right before I turned 18.
And how old
had,
were you, Alan?
I was 20 when I had my first.
18, 20. I was 22, married, in college, trying to balance playing college football, being a father, and I would say to the people that are watching that what you're seeing is that it is possible that you can have children at a young age and maybe be in a relationship or a marriage that didn't work, but that's not the end all. You can still make it work out if you apply yourself. And a lot of guys, especially guys, think, well, I gave marriage a shot. Yeah, that ain't for me. I'm for the streets now. Just because it didn't work the first time doesn't mean that it won't work again. And me and my wife have a saying that it'll work if you work it. And I've decided, and we joke, I seriously joke and let her know that you with me, I got you now. Like, I don't care what you do. But, you know, it kind of gives her an assurance that there's nothing that she can do that will make me leave her, because we're not perfect. And Christ forgives. And if Christ held us accountable for what we do, I'd be zapped away a long time ago. So it's almost a thing, it's like, look, there's nothing that you can do, you know, that's gonna make me leave your side, because I'm here with you. Marriage is supposed to be permanent. And when you go in it with the back door open, like, you know, I can go if I want to, you're gonna leave, because it's gonna get hard. There's gonna be times where you like, you know, she says, you wanna be mad, you better go to the other room. You ain't leaving out this house. You're not gonna leave out this house mad. And it's the same way. It's like, you think you know, she has it, but I'm like, you think you will get a Jody you want to, he better be helping with these bills, because I ain't going nowhere. So we both gonna be sitting on the couch playing 2K, playing Madden, because I'm here. He ain't taking you. I got you now. So it turns to that situation. So, you know, it's good, like you said, the boundaries that are set. And I think that's huge, because a lot of us, we're just trying to figure it out as we go. And if you don't have those boundaries set, it can be a hard roller coaster, and you'll find yourself in divorce court. You'll find yourself on marriage number 3 with a, you know, it can just be bad. And I look, you know, personal example of my parents taught me to get married. They didn't teach me how to stay married. You know, it's similar to our generation. Our generation, the parents said go to college. They didn't say what to do when you get there, because they didn't know, because they hadn't been. They didn't say, I need you to go and graduate. I need you to stay away from alcohol. I need you to stay away from the parties. I just need you to go. So a lot of our, you know, 80s babies, they went to college, they didn't graduate. You know, so we're teaching our kids, I need you to go, and now I need you to do this. I need you to be financially stable. Don't blow all your refund checks. Don't take loans if you don't have to. You know, do things like that. Graduate, go straight into your master's, get your doctorate if you have to. But I saw from my parents, between them two, there was about 7 marriages. So what I learned was, you get married, but if you don't like it, you get out of it too. So it was almost like it came down to a point that you're getting married because the Bible says it's better to, you know, marry than burn with passion. But sometimes you need to feel that fire, because that fire can be a whole lot hotter when $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month coming out your check. Because then you start asking yourself, how much am I valued? You know, last thing I'll say on that is there's a couple, and, you know, the wife, you know, they buried her yesterday. You know, Mother Odom from the church, she passed away, and her husband passed, I don't know if it's about a year ago or so, but they were in our church, and they would always give advice. And the advice that Deacon Odom, he's probably about 4'11", little guy, but he was one of them old guys with the whiskers. He said, don't let anybody tell you anything about your spouse. Right when they open up their mouth and say, your wife, that's where you end the conversation. And I took that and I ran with it. And what you realize is that if you don't know it, you're probably, you know, whenever somebody opens their mouth to talk negative or anything about your spouse, it changes. And everybody that knows me knows that, hey, you know, you can say what you want about me. You can do what you want to me. But you don't open your mouth and don't come from my family. Don't come from my wife. Don't come from my kids. Because I take it personal, because I felt like, that whole protector mode comes in. So anything my wife did, when you open, and my wife is the same way, you better say Coach McKissick, or you say Mrs. McKissick. Because when you say your wife, then it's personal. So it's like 300. Choose your next words carefully, because everything you say behind that, I'm taking as you're saying as your wife. Because now you done hit a personal spot. And we all know that, you know, you can't say anything about somebody's wife. So that would be some advice that I would pass along is that don't ever let anybody say anything about your wife or your husband. You know, stop it then. Like, because they're not in your house with you. They'll judge, they'll give you advice that is not going to work. Because just like each of us, we all have different marriages. We have different rules of the house. You know, what works in your house probably won't work in my house. Because we all have to tailor together the backgrounds that we grew up in. And all that composes of who we are. And, you know, just do that. The last thing I would say, you know, as we wrap up, just giving some general advice for, you know, newly married men. And, you know, the reason I'm saying men is because I can't speak on a woman because I'm not a married woman. So I'm just speaking from a guy's perspective because I think we are in a generation where men aren't being men. They're being boys. And there's a lot of women that are settling for these boys, whether it be financial security, whether it be, you know, they need somebody to take care of the kids, or they feel like this is the best that I can do. So I think that it's good to not bash men, just give encouragement, you know. But before I do that, I want to ask, since we're all, you know, related, Alan, I would say, is you came into the family, and how is it, maybe you give a quick tidbit, because on our side, my dad is the brother, man's mom is the sisters, but you married one of the cousins. So it's like you got one of the girls, and now you got all these cousins that they're so jailed, the girls. Has that ever become an issue that, you know, because, you know, they all talk? How do you manage to, in a big family like that, keep house in the house and not let it spill over? Because like you said, man, we'll forget about it. We can argue, and that's one thing we never do, is we don't tell our family about our issues. You know, when I did, you know, have a previous marriage and it, you know, dissolved, my brother was like, I thought you were doing great. You were supposed to think that. It wasn't your business, you know? So you were supposed to know. But how has it been? Like, how do you manage that when families are so tight?
I'm going to be honest. It really hasn't been a big problem when it comes down to family. Like you said, I know there's a lot of girls on in the family on your side, but that really haven't been a big problem. And I think that comes a lot from Miss Annette. I think Miss Annette instilled something in these ladies a long time ago. You know, she instilled something in them. She was teaching them how to be wives, even though maybe they didn't even know back then. They, you know, about one thinking about being wise back then. But she was instilling some things in them about being a wife and about keeping your business inside of your household and how you should be towards being a woman and discuss things with your husband. And I know she instilled that within these women because my wife tells me all the time, listen, if something is going on, we need to discuss it. You know, we can't just brush it up under the rug, and we can't just, you know, close the door on it or roll over on it and say, hey, it'll be all right in the morning. My wife is a person that wants to discuss it, and it needs to be discussed. So when it comes down to, like you say, keeping our business away from the family, I can say it's not a big deal because they've been taught this. You know, it's been something that's been taught that whatever goes on in your house or whatever's going on in your marriage, it needs to stay in your house, and you need to discuss the thing that's going on with your marriage, with your spouse. So I'm grateful for that. That you know, it was instilled inside my wife, and it's instilled inside of these women.
That's good. So you can lead us off with any open advice, or the, you know, the last thing that you would say if anybody was watching, a man, young man, old man, any man thinking about getting married or just got married.
If I had any advice for any young man or anybody, don't take that word man so personal. Don't think that because you are the man or you the head of your household that you're supposed to run over your wife. that your wife doesn't supposed to have a say-so inside of your household. I have a say-so in your marriage. The thing about you saying, your help me, you cannot run over your help me. You cannot run over your help. If you and your spouse are going to be, like you say, equally yoked, then you have to allow your wife to be able to say if she has a problem, or if there is something that she does not like, or just have have a say so as to what's going on with the finances or what's going on with the family. You cannot run over your house. And I think the bad thing that has been taught, my dad, if I can just give a quick story, my dad has never been married. Him and my mom was married way before my time. My dad never lived in the house with me. My dad taught me nothing but to have as many women as you possibly can. He told me that, listen, you the man of your household. You the man. Your wife do, or your woman do whatever you say. You put your foot down. You come in the house and you go out the house whenever you so please. Don't allow that woman to tell you when and when not to come. And that was one of the most foolish things I've ever heard in my lifetime. That you're supposed to be the man, and because you are the man, you can be able to run over that woman. But I thank God that I was raised by strong women that instilled in me that, listen, son, at the end of the day, if you're going to have a successful marriage, if you're going to live this life the way that you're supposed to live it, you have to listen to that woman. She's not there for you to run over. She's not there for you, to tell what to do. So my advice to any young man is be as one with your wife. Although you are the head of the household, she's still your best half in my life, in my marriage. My wife is my best half. So in order for your marriage to work, make sure you talk to her. Not just tell her what to do. Listen to her. Pay attention to what she has to say. And apply that to your life and apply that to your marriage. And as long as y'all are able to have a discussion, and after that discussion, you come up with a place where you want to be in your life or in your marriage, and I think your marriage will work.
Well, I will say that every spouse has issues. You had to choose that spouse with the issue that you can deal with. So, first, you had to talk about everything before sex, before marriage, so that there won't be any false expectations. And, I would say establish rules. Once you talk about everything, you got to have your rules. What you expect in the bedroom, what you expect from your spouse. Do you expect them to work? Do you expect them to stay at home? Talk about, all that stuff before, sex, so that you can come up with the rules. Give 110%. You're going to do 110%. 100% towards the stuff you want to do. Give that other percent, just to keep the other person happy, whether it's right or wrong. Agree to disagree. And your why has to be bigger than yourself. So you have to be that example. Like I said, I don't do stuff all the time because I want to. I do it because I got to, do it. Your why, if you're not doing it just for yourself, or getting married, or doing certain things just to keep yourself happy, do it to keep your kids happy. Because they're pretty much, you're the example for what they're going to be like. So what you accept or don't, strive for, you pretty much limiting your kids and putting that expectation on them.
That's good. Well, that was all great. And the advice that I would give, coming from Ephesians 5:25, husbands, love your wife even as Christ so loved the church. And you know that he gave his life for the church. The church not as in a building, but the community, of believers, that he gave his gave his life for the church. And if we're saying that we should love our wife as Christ loved the church, then we have to love our wife unconditionally, to the fact that we're willing to give of ourselves, give our life, or our life as we know it, to our spouse. And the Bible says that we love to throw out, be submissive to your husband. But right after that, it says, and husbands, submit to your wives. So you have to be all in. You have to be able to, be all in with it. Don't go in halfway. Don't think that it's gonna be easy. It's not. It's not. I'm not. It will not be easy. And make sure, one, that you keep God in it. If you don't pray for your spouse, with your spouse, about your spouse, get some type of Bible study, something going. But you're going to fail because remember, marriage is ordained in the Bible. So we have a lot of people who get married, but they don't want to follow the rules of the Bible. The reason you got married is because the Bible said that you marry. They put down those laws, and that's what made the culture. Because now the culture is saying that you don't have to get married. You can just be, close friends and friends with benefits, and you can be business partners, things like that. So if you're going to get married, as we say, you're either going to believe all of the Bible or none of it. Look, when you're having those disagreements, where can I find that in the Bible? And if you're not a Bible scholar, Google. Google can be your best friend. Second thing I would say is fight fair. Have some non-negotiables. Like you said, we're not going to talk about sensitive things. If I know that this is a sensitive area, I'm not going to bring that up. I'm not going to just ride you about an issue that we already know is going left. I'm not going to say hurtful things. Like, if she's sensitive in an area, maybe she's not the best cook, or maybe she's not confident about her body because she just had a child, then you're going to go and say, oh man, at least you put on some nice clothes. You're setting yourself up. You're not safeguarding your house. And when you don't lock the front door, you make it easy for someone else to walk in. You make it real easy, almost like you give your spouse away. And then if you say it's permanent, now you have to deal with what happens as a result of what happened. You can either quit, but I promise you that problem is going to come up in your next marriage or your next relationship. And my last one is to have a deal breaker. And it's a kind of a catch-22 on this one. You need to come up in your mind what I will not stand for in my marriage. If my wife does this, that's it. I'm out. A lot of guys say, if I catch my wife in the bed with someone else, and I can't speak on women because, we're men, then that's it. I'm out. And once you came up with those deal breakers, she can't be in bed with someone else, she can't spend my money, she can't disrespect my mom or my kids, then you take those deal breakers and you make sure that she doesn't. Okay, if I'm willing to leave her for going on a date with another man, then I'm going to be the one on a date with her. I'm going to fulfill those needs to make sure she doesn't have to leave out this house to get them fulfilled. She's not going to have to disrespect my mom because I'm going to put my mom in check and say, hey, you don't come, like, I love you, but you're supposed to leave and cleave. So there's an area that you can't touch. You can't come in here. So once you have those non-negotiables, they're really for you to say, I'm not going to negotiate in these areas. I'm going to make sure that my spouse, that my wife doesn't have to go to another man, even her father, to get something taken care of. I want to make sure that, her quality tank, her love tank is full. If it's quality time, which is my wife's, which is the catch, it's hard because her love language is quality time, and I ain't got no free time. So I have to be very intentional about saying, hey, I'm going to put my phone down. This is all you. If it ain't but 5 minutes, it's all you. Or I go ahead and say, look, can we go on a date next week? Wherever you want to go, let me know. And what that does is it at least lets her know that you're thinking about her. It lets her know that I know I'm busy right now, but I haven't forgot about you. And my wife does the same thing. We're all adults. She'll say, I can't, we got to get it on or something like that, or whatever terminology she uses. It ain't going to happen right now, but at least as a man, you're like, okay, she ain't forgot about me. She stuff needs to happen, and it feels better when it's acknowledged. So I would say those deal breakers are huge because a lot of times marriages end and they never had a chance. Like the husband's out cheating, wife's out cheating, and they're fixable problems, things that you could have avoided if you would have just safeguarded your marriage. So with that being said, I hope that you guys have learned something. I hope that we have been a blessing to you all. I appreciate, you guys' time. I know it took a lot of y'all time up. We probably was on here about 2 hours. I don't know how long we're on here, but I really think that this will bless somebody. If it only blesses one person, then that's one more than enough. You don't have to deal with some situations that we deal with. So until next time, I'm Pastor Coach McKissick from Be the Ram Global Fellowship. I challenge you to win the 97% and be the ram of somebody's life. Y'all be blessed.